almost every day.
I read magazines pretty much all the time.
I read magazines pretty often, actually. I subscribe to quite a few fashion magazines.
Skinny. Unhealthy. But usually a skinny girl who's like tan, everything's perfect. Proportions are like impossible. Usually very flat-chested, no signs of scarring, bruising, stitches, or like no, what are they called? Stretch marks. Nothing.
No folds.
Nothing that a real woman would have, or a real girl.
I see really skinny women, basically, and like they have no bruises. Like they're like perfect.
Usually the girls are very, pale and light-skinned, and they're often very thin, but not too thin, like curvy, and usually they have really perfect makeup and perfect hair and no like flaws on their body at all. I do actually think that in a way, people who maybe, overweight can be perceived as lazy, and then people who are underweight and rather thin can be perceived as like just stereotyped as anorexic or something like that. So I think in a way it does, but for most people, I think most people like other people for the personalities.
Yes, I do, because I think that like men see women in magazines and then they expect every woman in the world to look like those women in the magazine. It's perfect body shape, perfect breasts, perfect butt, hips, legs, everything. Just perfect, and makeup perfect, hair perfect.
I feel like a lot of people, since that's all that they see, they feel like that's what they should be, even though that's not true. And there's all different types of body sizes, and they should all be accepted. Like, you could just tell, like, her neck has been elongated, her hair is so voluptuous, it's beautiful. There's obviously signs of airbrushing with the way her skin is all contoured, and they made everything smaller or bigger. Like, it's not real at all.
Of course not. Women don't come outside their homes looking like this every day. Looking like this, with their hair perfect, their makeup. People don't have time to do this in the morning. I mean, I certainly don't have time to do this in the morning.
No, I mean, definitely not. These pictures all obviously have been photoshopped.
Well, it usually makes me feel like, well, why can't I look like that? I wish I looked like that, but I don't. And that's a little upsetting. Just like, I wish my skin was like that. I wish my hair could look like that, all nice, perfect. Nothing looks wrong with it. But, when you're a teenager, you usually have acne, or, your hair can't always be perfect, or your makeup can't always be perfect. Like, perfect, perfect, perfect is what they expect, and you cannot be perfect. No one can.
I like to think that it doesn't really affect me at all. I like to think, that, it doesn't, I realize that, they're all photoshopped, but I think it's the same with everyone, where it affects you a little bit more than you think it does, and just looking at these images, I think, has subliminal damage, and it really, you unconsciously compare yourself to them and think, wow, I'm not this beautiful, so I think it does affect me.
When I look at a woman, it usually makes me feel like, oh, maybe I should achieve that look, but then again, I have to think, like, these women, like, work on their looks, like, with, like, 20 people on them. I'm just one person alone, and that just makes me feel a little bit more confident about myself and about my own individual look.